Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Last First Date Radio, featuring interviews with experts in dating, relating, and mating in midlife. And now, here's your host, Sandy Weiner.
This is episode number 361, 3 Keys to Great Communication from First Date to Relationship. Hello, everybody. I am Sandy Weiner, and welcome to Last First Date Radio, where we believe it is never too late to have the love you want and that a woman of value naturally attracts the respect and rewards she deserves in life and love. And today I am excited to be speaking with Susanna Mittermeier. I think that is how you pronounce your name. Is that right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, okay. I didn't have the pronunciation here. Susanna is calling in from between Austria and Italy. She is over in Europe, and we're going to be talking about how to communicate more effectively in dating and relationships. And before I bring Susanna on, I always share a tip on how to become a woman of value, because to me, no matter what I am leading women in, whether it's through my work as a dating and relationship coach or my more recent work as a women's empowerment coach for women at work to help them communicate more effectively and lead more powerfully, it all starts with how we value ourselves. And so every week I bring you a tip on how to become a woman of value. This week's tip is listen to understand. And this is, Stephen Covey made this one very popular many years ago. And I think what we usually do is we listen to be heard. And I'm so glad that this tip happened to be the tip of the day without even realizing the topic of what our podcast was, because listening is such a big part of communication. I'm sure we will touch on that when we talk to Susanna in a minute. So the next time you listen, really take a moment to kind of put your own needs aside for a second and really try to understand the person in front of you instead of just having your voice be heard, because the person who's talking to you will think you had the most amazing conversation if they feel heard first. So before I bring Susanna on, I just want to mention my Facebook group. It's a free group called Your Last First Date, and if you are not yet a member, I highly encourage you to join us. We are about 3,000 women strong, and we are a supportive, positive-focused group. There is no victim allowed, no man-bashing, no broad sweeping about men being jerks or narcissists or whatever it is that women like to call men. We are here to support you on your journey to your last first date. And there is just so much beautiful conversation going on, and I really encourage you, if you're struggling at all in dating or relationships, or you just want the camaraderie of an incredible community, go to Facebook and join Your Last First Date. And now for my guest, Susanna Mittermeier. She's a psychologist and the founder of Pragmatic Psychology. She's the author of the #1 international best-selling book, Practical Tools for Being Crazy Happy, and she's a certified facilitator for Right Voice for You, which is a special program for Access Consciousness. And I've had many Access Consciousness guests here, and they are all amazing, so I know you're going to love this conversation. She is a highly sought-after public speaker, and her paradigm for therapy is new. It is special. It's called Pragmatic Psychology. She can transform people's problems and difficulties into possibilities and powerful choices. Welcome to the show, Susanna.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure. So I love this conversation. I'm already loving it before we even start. And before we get into the topic, I would just like to know what drew you to specialize in relationships and also in communication.
Well, so I started out being a psychologist and worked as a psychotherapist in Sweden in mental health for many years. And relationship is a big topic out there, whether it's a relationship to your spouse, to a lover to your children to your. I mean, we are basically in relationship all the time. So to find effective ways to create great relationships is something that most people seek. And for me personally, also, I was someone who never desired a relationship. I was one of the weird people who was very happy by myself. And I always got projected that, oh, you're going to find someone one day. And I always said, I'm not looking for someone. And so for me, it was always enjoying my own company. And one day, and I love how you started this conversation, because one day I was like, so I was like asking for something greater, and I didn't put a definition on it. I didn't say I'm asking for a man. I didn't know exactly how that looks like, what I'm asking for. I just asked for, hey, universe, what else is possible for something nurturing, creative, fun, expansive to show up in my life. And soon after, I met someone, and we really liked each other. And I was not happy that I was going into a relationship, because I'm like, the way that I've seen relationship works in this reality is, where people they start out, it's amazing, and then after a short while, it's not amazing. They start fighting and get bored, and I'm like, that's not what I desire as my life. So that was the only paradigm that I was handed, and that most of us are handed. So for me, it was like, that's not what I desire as my life or future. So meeting this person that I had such a great time with from the beginning, having this, now it could become a relationship, for me was, oops, that's not what I desire. I don't want to go down the road of what I see around me. So I started to ask questions. I'm like, okay, so what else is possible here that I've never considered? And I found a way of creating a relationship that's unique for me, that works phenomenally, and makes me really happy. So for me, it's such a pleasure to inspire people and invite people to know what they know about creating relationships and doing it the way that works for them. So that's how it all started out.
So interesting. And I think that so many people form their ideas about relationships because of what they're surrounded by or their parents and what they've experienced. And people do that with children too, where they say, I don't want to ever have kids because I was not brought up well. And I love the way that you had this epiphany that I could do it differently. It doesn't have to be the way it always was. So let me create something that works for me.
Yeah. Yes. That was really something I've had as a big question in my world. And what I always say to people that say, oh, my God, you guys are so great together. You have so much fun. How do you do that? Like, that's one of the things that I usually inspire people to ask the question of, what do I know about relationship? Because what we do is we look at our parents, we look at our, mom and dad or grandparents or whoever we have around, and we think, okay, that's the way a relationship is. So we have this definition, this fixed definition of, oh, that's how you do it. And yes, that's how they do it, but that doesn't have to be necessarily how you do it. So one of the things you can always ask is, if I would be me, if I would be totally me, what would I know and how would I create this relationship? And you'll find ongoing awarenesses of things that are different, that you want to do differently than what you're seeing around you and what you have seen when you grew up.
I think a lot of people, when they hear that, they go, I don't know anything. I just know, it's a very coachy thing to do, is like, and what if you did know? And a lot of people get stuck there. So what do you do with the people who are really stuck? Like, they just go, well, it's just the way it is. They have a really fixed mindset.
Yep. So what do you do when you have no clue? Well, most of us have no clue when we start out because we just see what is out there and then we try to do it the same way and then we notice it doesn't work and we get upset and frustrated. So in order to find out what you know about what makes me happy, what's the way I would like to create a relationship, you have to start from just acknowledging that it's okay to not know. It's like you don't have to be, oh, my God, I get a total download of how I would like to do it. No. You start by where you are. If you have no clue, that's fine. Most of us have no clue. I had no clue. So how do you find out? Well, there's this amazing tool that I love to use. It's an access consciousness tool. It's very easy and very practical. So when you notice yourself doing something that has this like a heaviness to it, it's dragging you down, it's not making you happy, then know this. So every time, like there's this amazing tool, it's like this. So if you, everything that makes you light, everything that makes you feel expansive and happy, that's what's true for you. That's what matches you and who you are. Everything that makes you feel heavy and contracted, that's a lie. That's why you try to live someone else's world. And that's what we most of the time do. Like how many times, are people living somebody else's version of their lives, and not their own version of life. So if you do something that makes you feel heavy, no, that's a lie. That's where you're not being you. That's where you're not living your life. When something is light and makes you feel lighter, that's where you're on the path of creating something that works for you. So don't try to figure out, don't try to plan when you're doing this and when you're creating a relationship, but follow what's light. And that's something that we usually don't do. We try to be in our heads and figure out, is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? Are people going to like me if I do this? Are people going to hate me if I do this? This is just, this is things that drive us crazy and not in a good way. It's, there's crazy in a great way and there's crazy in a not good way. So, so really
right.
when like this empowering yourself to know what you know is following what makes you feel light, and that might not match what other people find good. So it's like developing this trust in you and trust that and it's like there's a lightness to when you choose something that matches you and the future you'd like to create.
Yeah, this is such a good tool. It's really tapping into your truth, tapping into your intuition, and most of us live in our heads. Like we are disassociated from the rest of us, ourselves. The bodies, no, because you can't control that as much as you can control the head. And I see that so many of the women who come to me for coaching are women who have really succeeded academically, and then when it comes to relationships, they're making bad choices. They're dismissing their heart, their soul, and their logic that says that's not good for you, and they keep going for that instead of really listening to the signs that their body's telling them. And when we live outside of alignment, we're unhappy, and we're also attracting in the wrong people into our lives, the wrong jobs, the wrong everything. So this is just so important.
Yeah, and I love what you said, and that also touches what you said in the beginning when you said put your needs aside. And, like when you mentioned the career women who have everything right and everything works except the part with the relationship, it's like what I've noticed with people is we're so good at inventing needs rather than realizing what's really true for us. So it's like you don't need a person. A person is an addition to you, and it's something you can add to your life, but it's not something you need. So there's this inherent lie that most people buy, that there's a constant lack. Some people have the constant lack with money. Some people have the constant lack with happiness. Others people have it with lack of having somebody in your life. Like, what if, you look at this and see, do I really have a need, or have I invented that need? And again, with that, you can use the tool we just talked about before. So if you look at it, you go, okay, do I have a need, or have I invented the need? Which one makes you feel lighter? That you have a need? If you tap into the energy of that is that light? Or I invented the need that I need somebody. Is that lighter? And then just check what you know and what's true for you. And most of the people realize, wow, I invented a need needing to have somebody else in my life. And one of the things you can practice before you add someone into your life is start, enjoying your own company. Do things, take yourself out on a date by yourself. I did that, and it's so much fun, It's like if I would take myself out on a date, what would I do? Where would you go? Which restaurant would you take yourself? Or, you can order in if you don't want to go out by yourself. What flowers would you buy yourself? And just like enjoying your own company and practicing that, because then if you add someone, that person can be an addition and not a fulfilling of your needs. And that's a totally different platform for creation of a relationship that works than buying the lie that you need someone, which is actually not true.
So it's an interesting conversation, because I think that yes, we should date ourselves. It's so helpful to know what you love, to know what fills you, because so many people don't even know that, and they're waiting for somebody to do that for them. And I know a woman who was recently dating a guy who was waiting for his future wife to take care of him, to help him lose weight, to help him stay motivated, to help him do all the things that he wasn't doing for himself. And she just wanted to run in the other direction, because she doesn't want to be that person for anybody. Like, yes, we can support each other. In a relationship, we do support each other, but we don't do it for them. I think there's a big distinction. So when we know what our needs are, we know how to fulfill those needs ourselves, we also can express ourselves in ways that are much more helpful, which brings us to communication, because I think that when, the people sometimes get confused between being needy and having needs, and I'd love to hear your distinction.
So most people think that they are like being needy is, and it's also, if you look at how we're brought up, it's so normal that, like, most of the times when children are needy, they get attention, and people give them whatever they desire. So most of us have learned, if I'm needy, I will get what I desire. And it's not something we think about cognitively. It's just something that usually is in our world, a strategy we've been using, and it works. So then most people keep on using it. But then they don't look at, okay, it works, I get what I want, but it keeps my life small. It keeps me in a constant lie of lack if I think that I'm needy. And there's some needs, like needs and needy, the difference is one is from lack and one is from creation. So the part where you go to lack is where you always need to, like you buy the lie of lack, and you always look for who and what do I need that fulfills this. So it's not that you are in charge of your life. You always have to have someone else that helps you, can contribute to you, and you're never the source of creation yourself if you function from that paradigm. If you look at need from, I would like something, like more from desire, it's something that's creative. It's where I go, it would be really great to have this and that in my life. What would it take? What can I be? What's required to create that? Then you are in charge and you're the leader, and you're not dependent on someone or something else. So that's like the big distinction between those two. And relationship usually brings up all the places where we have bought the lie of lack. And if we're courageous enough, we can look at this. What most people go is they don't want to look at this. rather want to blame the other person for not delivering whatever they have decided they need. And this is not a comfortable topic. Relationship is usually not a comfortable topic because you got to be really courageous and vulnerable and looking at, okay, how am I creating this? Not my partner is not delivering this for me. That's a big killer of relationship. It's more like, how can I change this rather than what is my partner not doing? That's like a big thing you can look at. But it does require big vulnerability because most people are rather right than free. And in a relationship, if you want to maintain the rightness of your point of view, we all know where that leads to. It's the fight, it's the quarrel, rather than, do I really need to be right here? Or can I be an allowance of my partner and him being different? And allowance is a big, big key for creating change and creating a successful relationship. And allowance means you don't agree and align, you don't resist and react, you allow your person to be whatever he or she needs to be in whatever way that is. And, you know, like most women, I dare to say, start a relationship to fix up the man. And I always say your man is not a restoration project. He is who he is. And, you know, if there's a lot of things you don't like about him, and you got to ask yourself, if he would never change it, would that work for me? Can I live with that? And if not, you know, this might not be a relationship that works for you. And we really got to be honest there. Like the paradigm of having to maintain relationships rather than create them, that's what we have been brought up with. I mean, I know my parents and grandparents, once they were together, they stayed together, and that's very honorable, and that works for them. And I know that there's a different possibility where you look at, does this still work for me? And being willing to create your relationship, not needing to maintain it. And that takes a big, 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 big portion of allowance for your partner and not needing to change him or change her. But, okay, you are who you are. And you know what? I'm grateful for who you are. And you don't need to change. And what you get to experience and receive from the person that you're with and the difference they are is absolutely incredible. It's such an inspiration. And it's a totally different paradigm that requires you to not needing to be right. And I know most women or men maybe hate me saying that. But if you really, and I'm really sorry for that, but it's like, it's if you really want to have a successful relationship, oh my God, we really got to get over being right and being an allowance. And yes.
Yeah, no, I hear your passion around this. It's so true. And I think once you own it, though, the thing is that it gives you so much power. It's the power to create, the power to change your own dynamic. And, I mean, these are the conversations that I have so often with members of my family, with people in my life about people who are trying to change the other person, you know, whether one of my children is trying to change their father or change me. And it's like, you can't change them, but let's talk about what if you saw this differently? What if you processed this differently? You know, how would that look? And it's like, no. It meets with a lot of resistance, but it's amazing. Like my son was able to do that with his father. And there was a lot of pushback for a long time. And finally he just said, this is my father. This is who he is. And I accept that. And if it doesn't work for me, I'm going to walk out of the room. And he has a great relationship with him now. You know, he doesn't come in with expectations that are false. And so I think this is so key, and it creates connectivity, creates intimacy, it creates vulnerability, and it has you living in alignment with your truth and not trying to morph yourself into something you're not. Like you keep talking about this lie of lack. I've never heard that term, but I really like it. I think it's so true that so many of us live in that space.
Yes. I love what you say about the expectations. That's so brilliant. And like this is a tool we all can use. So whenever and it doesn't matter who that person is, like you say, it can be your father, your son, your whoever your colleague, whoever you have around you that you keep on having not ease with, it's usually that we have expectations about that person. We want them to be a certain way. We expect them to respond a certain way, say something, and you might be, right, but it doesn't really matter. It's more like if you have an expectation and the person doesn't deliver that particular thing, we all know what that creates. It creates upset and anger and so on. And so a great tool is every day, especially with the people you have around you that are closest, let go of all the expectations, projections, and judgments and separations you have with that person. Just go, okay, so before you, lay down at night, you just go, all the expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections I have of that person, I now let it go. And then you do it maybe sometimes, and you really choose to let it go and start new every day. And you go, oh, hi, how you doing? Who is that person? And you start fresh every day and discover the person and get to know them as though you've never met them. That's the most creative thing you can do. And it takes the courage to let go of the rightness and the need to be right. And yes, maybe it would be great that they, send you flowers or put down the toilet seat or whatever you expect them to do that they don't do. That would be awesome, but maybe they don't do it. And maybe if they haven't done it the first 20 years, they probably will not do it the next 20 years. And maybe it doesn't have anything to do with you. Maybe it's not even personal. But that's the other thing. We tend to take everything personal. Maybe what the person that you're together with does not always have anything to do with you personally. So that's also something we can practice, like not taking things personal, or ask, does this really have anything to do with me now? Or ask the person, hey, can you help me? I'm having a hard time with whatever you're doing here, and I so would like to judge you, but I don't want to judge you. Can you help me with more information? Is this something about me, or is this something not about me? So that's also something you can do, because we love to interpret everything, and there's not always something to interpret. Some people just do whatever they do, and it doesn't mean anything. And if you need help, always ask, like, can you help me? But if you ask from vulnerability and not from fight, that creates a totally different communication and a totally different platform for change.
Yes, I love this. This whole judgment and interpretation and assumption, this is what keeps people from having good relationships. It's all in your head.
Yes.
I mean, I grew up at that model of so much projection, and I love what Brené Brown says. One of her ways of dealing with this is to say, the story I'm making up in my head is this. So it's like, here's what I'm making up. Can you tell me what's really going on? And it's almost never what's in your head. But it's so easy to get triggered. It's so easy to, just to take our past experience and to then project what this must mean. And this is actually the topic of my monthly membership program this month, is triggers, because this is something that keeps us very single. It's just so important. If people take away just this, to let go of expectations and projections and rejections and judgments, every day look at people as if they're brand new. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to do that, but it's practice. It's all practice.
Definitely. Yes.
I would just love, the topic was the 3 keys to great communication, so I would love to cover that before we go. We could talk about everything else. But yes, what are those 3 keys?
I think we covered some parts of it already in our conversation. So allowance is one of the big keys. Allowance is where you don't agree, don't align, don't resist, and don't react. You allow the person to be who they are. which creates a lot of, like, it helps you be grateful for you and for the person. We touched on no expectations, and which allows you to see the person for who they are in the moment, and discover them new every day for who they are. And also, like, the other key is, look at who you are dealing with. There's some people that function with, they say something and they mean something different, and some people say something and they mean what they say. They're like very direct, and there's no interpretation. Just look at who you're talking with, because and this is like men and women. There's some men who say something and that's what they mean, and they mean it. There's like no subtitle. There's some men who function with subtitle. There are a lot of women who have subtitle. There are also women, like I'm one of those, who I don't have subtitle. When I say something, I mean it. So that's something where my partner, he's used to his ex-girlfriends, where he had to interpret. And so he tried to interpret with me too. And he discovered, wow, there's nothing to interpret. Whatever she says, she means. So it's really helpful to see who you're dealing with, and does this person have subtitle? And if yes, what are they actually saying that they're not saying verbally? Because then you have a totally different information of what's going on. And also know when they're not interpreting, when they don't have a subtitle, and just know, oh, okay, they really mean it. Because it just, shortcuts the communication of knowing, okay, there's actually nothing to interpret, or, oh, there's actually subtitle. What are they actually saying? And don't shy away from asking the person, and be willing to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, can you help me? I don't understand. This is heavy for me. I would like to change this. Can you help me, please? So whenever you say, can you help me, please, it creates such an amazing platform for different communication. But you really got to come from a vulnerability, not from making wrong. And that takes practice, because in the heat of the moment, you want to make the person wrong. You're like, la, 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 and you go into the intensity, and you become, I'm in Italy, so you become Italian, and you walk. But you got to practice. You got to practice to go, okay. And you know what? It also helps if you leave the situation for a moment, go to the toilet, or go somewhere out, and then breathe, relax, and then go back and ask, hey, can you help me? I don't want to go into fight. Can we do something different here? And then, do the conversation.
Yeah, there's so much here. I love the subtitles. I've never really thought about it as subtitles, but so many people do speak in subtitles. And I know one of my children is often processing her thoughts out loud, and so I get really confused because sometimes there's contradictory thoughts, but she's trying to spill them all out so she can make sense of it. And so it's like wading through the forest. I'm like, okay, is this what you mean, or is this what you mean? Just help me out here. And she's like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, it's really helpful when you are speaking with somebody who's direct, but very few people really are that direct, and it takes a lot of skill to get there for people who are used to being passive aggressive. It's vulnerable to speak your truth, but the more you do it, the better it gets, and the more you can connect authentically to people. This is good stuff, Susanna. So thank you so much. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but I would love to have you share how people can reach you. And I have your Twitter at Access Susanna. How else can people find you?
Well, there's a webpage. It's SusannaMittermeier.com, or email info@SusannaMittermeier.com, or on any other social media platform under my name.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you again for having this rich conversation with me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure that there are just so many takeaways and tools that you've shared that people are bound to really start a transformation of relationships. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Sandy. Thank you.
My pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for listening today. Again, if you would like to join our Facebook group, go to Your Last First Date on Facebook and answer the 3 questions to get in. And if you love our show, please rate and review it wherever you listen to podcasts, and that really helps our show get even more widespread. And I hope you go on your last first date very soon. Have a great day.